Hey, it's Rachel Carroll with the Neuromuscular Studio. I am taking advantage of a little time that Eric has here on his break. This is Eric Christensen with Chandler Physical Therapy. He's Doctor of Physical Therapy. Chandler PT is one of our go-to PT clinics for our clients. They do functional physical therapy, which basically treats the whole body and the whole chain of tissue, in addition to traditional ortho PT, and works really well with neuromuscular therapy. And actually been working with your patients for 7
years, almost 8 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to take a little bit of his time. Thank you again.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Yeah, thank you.
Wanted to take a little bit of his time to kind of talk with you guys about how we can help you with neck pain. So a lot of you now are working from home, which can be challenging in many regards, but maybe your home ergonomic setup isn't like your professional desk setup at their traditional workplace. You also may have kids at home, I'm guessing, because all those schools are closed, so you're navigating that. And we're also in a time of high stress. So we want to make sure that we are helping you with maybe some neck pain that's developing, giving you some tips and some tools to help you have a little better experience at home now that we're finding ourselves in this situation. So anyway, without further ado, Eric, what do you have to say about all of that?
Yes, what trying times we're in, right?
Yeah. We're all going to get through this together.
Yeah,
Okay?
so obviously there's a lot of high stress right now. And when we look at this natural stress response, whether that's from the incidents around us, maybe it's pain, maybe it's some combination of everything else, the body is going to tense the muscles that pull you into that fetal position, more or less.
Yep.
And so those are kind of common areas that we see either become painful or very restricted, leading to pain elsewhere. Couple that with a lot of us, like she was saying, we're working from home now, and probably not with the best desk setup. Even if you do have a good desk setup, we tend to navigate towards a more flexed crouch posture, which feeds more into that position, that fetal position as well. So the things that we want to kind of talk about in terms of ergonomics, how your desk set up as best you can. Don't sit on the couch to do your work as at all possible. And if it is there, set a timer and make sure it's not the majority of your day. I recommend at least every 30 minutes to a half hour, that is a half hour, every hour, getting up and moving at some level.
So what we always recommend to our clients is making sure you're setting either a traditional egg timer, the old school egg timer, or timer on your phone.
Right.
And make sure it's loud. Make sure you know that it. You have to maybe put your phone across the room so that you actually have to physically get up to turn it off. And then what we recommend is that they get up and they move around. They get the drink of water. They get their body moving, and then that's a good time to do some exercises and some stretches.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, you gotta have that external cue, because if you don't, you'd be like, I'm going to stop in 20 minutes, and 3 hours later, it's going to be, like, why am I dying with a headache right now?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Super important there. So, do you want to jump into exercises now, or you want to go over some tips on ergonomics first?
Let's do tips on ergonomics, and then we can talk about the exercise.
So, ergonomics for the basics, try and have a place where you sit where your hips and your torso about 90 degrees. And I don't, something like sitting here, so we're not super here, and we're not really crouched up here as well. Make sure your feet can touch the ground. Don't let them dangle, because if they're dangling, you're going to be using other things to support yourself, like your hip flexors, which can lead to low back pain, neck pain, lots of other things.
Right.
When we're sitting at the desk, try and be upright as possible. We don't want to be hyperextended. That can be just equally as bad as slouching the whole time. But something neutral where your ears go right over your hip bones is where we're looking for with that. If you can do something with a back support, whether that's like maybe a kitchen table chair, but maybe a pillow behind it, that might be optimal, depending on, or if you have a lumbar support, you could certainly use that. And then we want to look at about 90 degrees with the elbows here. When we're on our keyboard, make sure the wrists aren't compact on something like that. Try and keep the wrists neutral as we're typing. Put that through there.
Okay.
Any other things to add with that?
And then monitor height or laptop, position.
If you can get to something where your laptop can be roughly about eye height, or maybe about 10 to 20 degrees below eye level, would probably be optimal. Some of that might have an external monitor, that docking station. Not everybody's going to have that. And if you're working on like a PC or a desktop type deal, again, top of the monitor at eye level, so the monitor is slightly below eye level, so
Okay.
we're not here.
Right, right. Because when you're here, what you're doing is you are actually compressing and tightening the suboccipital muscles, which are the muscles in the base of the skull that connect the base of the skull, the occiput, with the first and second vertebrae. We have several pairs of them on both sides, and what they actually do is they have trigger point referrals that refer into kind of like a vice-like headache. So if you feel kind of like your head is just being squished with a headache, that's usually coming from suboccipitals, and then also it can compress the optic nerve, can influence migraines, all of those things just from simply having your head up in that position for an extended period of time.
Definitely a big headache area for us. We
Yeah.
treat it
Yep.
almost every day with that sort of stuff.
Yep, we do too.
So,
Unfortunately,
yeah,
but I mean, there are solutions.
Yeah, desks are tough to come by maybe in your home office if you don't have it. Maybe if you're already working from home, hopefully you have something like that set up. But do your best not to be in any one given position for any long period of time. It's kind of popular saying your best posture is your next posture.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't horrible if you're not here for 2-3 hours.
Right.
Can be horrible if you're here for 2-3 hours too. So, be changing. And that's kind of what we're built as humans to do, is to change position, not hold something steady.
Our bodies are meant to move.
Yes.
For sure.
100%.
Okay, so let's talk about some exercises.
Yes.
What they can do at home.
So if we look at those common muscles that are going to pull us into that fetal position, let's talk from that kind of standpoint through there. You okay being on the table?
Sure.
Let's do it. Let's pivot this over this way and see if we can't get this going. And let's see what we got right about yonder.
This is exciting. I get to be on the table today.
There you go. Maybe let's pivot so you're laying on your back if you can.
Okay.
And so when we are looking at the suboccipitals, like Rachel mentioned, they sit back here, kind of, if you feel back here, you got a big old bump. We call it bump of knowledge. On either side of that are the 4 little tiny muscles on either side called your suboccipitals. They're primarily meant to stabilize your skull on your spine. They're not big main movers. They're not supposed to be, but they also provide significant information about where our body is at in space, something we call proprioception. And if those are really gummed up, we might end up with either bad balance, could lead to maybe some vertigo-like symptoms, and significant headaches as far as that's concerned.
Mm-hmm. Think of like a bowling ball, balancing a bowling ball on top of a broomstick. And so those are basically what your suboccipitals are responsible for doing, is keeping that bowling ball on top of a broomstick as, you're moving through space.
Right. So one of the easiest things that we can do is something we call a chin tuck. And we can build on that for very different things. But honestly, if you're just doing the chin tuck fairly frequently, that's going to get you a long way down the road. So you want to think that the back of your head is going to stay in contact with that pillow. And in that position, draw your chin back as if you were to try and give yourself a double chin. It's not looking upwards, it's retracting in there. And as you come back into that, you're going to get a nice pull along the back side of the neck back through here. Can you feel that?
Mm-hmm.
Do that. If you wanted a more aggressive stretch in this, you could certainly get rid of the pillow. It's going to challenge the mid-back mobility a little bit more. If this is too difficult, you feel like you can't do it, bring it up a little bit, maybe another small pillow underneath your head.
Are there any precautions if somebody's had a cervical fusion?
It depends on where the cervical fusion is.
Okay.
Most of the time, they're not fusing this area.
Okay.
So unless it's really recent, no.
Okay.
But if if you happen to have your C1-2 fused,
Mm-hmm.
you're probably not going to be able to do this anyway.
Correct.
But
Okay.
if you're fresh out of surgery, obviously use your best discretion in any situation. This is just general advice.
Sure.
You've got to apply your own personal
Correct.
to that.
Correct.
With that, normally with something like that, I recommend a 10-second hold, and I tend to recommend maybe going 10 reps, 15 reps, something like that. Now, if you're prone to headaches, you might start to feel a little bit of a headache come on, and that's very normal as long as when you back off, it backs off. If it's not, then we've hit a limit where our body's starting to react to the new stimulus, and we need to discontinue that. But if you feel a little pressure maybe behind the eyes or in the temples, like Rachel was saying, that's totally normal, but it should stop when you stop. And if it's not, we need to change something up.
This is one of my favorite exercises. It feels fantastic. So.
And if we want to take it the next step further, we could do that chin tuck just like you were doing, Rachel. And from there, keep the chin in, but slowly lift the back of the head about an inch or two up off that pillow. Good. Now keep that chin tucked as we slowly bring it back down. Don't lose that chin, and then relax it back out. And that's going to challenge the front of the neck stabilizers a little bit more, but it's also going to do double duty and probably stretch the backside of the neck even a little bit more. That can be more difficult and sometimes induce more headaches, so start with the first one, see if you get something. If you feel like you're not getting a lot out of it, move on to step 2.
Okay, cool.
You can sit for the next one, Rachel. And in this position, upper traps get very, very tight traditionally. And so simple, easy stretch. We have two muscles kind of in this upper one. We've got the upper trap and then the levator scapulae. Rachel, who do you think is more of a guy that gives the problems, in your opinion?
Levator for me.
That's
I would put 97% of my money on that.
Upper trap gets a lot of flack for it's not being its fault.
Right.
But we're going to stretch both of them. Let's catch both with one stone.
Okay.
The first one, if you can, take your arm kind of behind your back. It doesn't have to be as high as it goes. If that's an uncomfortable position, you can certainly just reach down and grab the edge of the seat that you're sitting on.
Okay.
It's just serving as an anchor.
Okay.
In that position, opposite hands coming on top, and then we're just going to gently pull away.
So we're doing lateral flexion, bringing our ear towards our shoulder.
Exactly. And as you do that, you should start to feel some sort of pull through here.
Oh, yeah.
My general rule, you can get really aggressive with this and really crank on your neck. Not necessary. I usually tend to recommend is 100% in max tolerance. We want to operate in that 50 to 70% range.
And you always want to do both sides.
Exactly. You don't want to be walking around in circles in the desert.
Now, if they're at a computer and they're doing, they're right-handed with their mouse, is that something where we would want to do like a 2-to-1 ratio between sides, or should we just keep it 1-to-1? I kind of, because that could be day to day, right? Sure.
So sometimes I say if it feels tighter on one side, spend a little extra time on that.
Okay.
I tend not to overthink it versus sidewise.
And I overthink because I'm a planner, so I'm type A.
Yeah. If you feel like you need to do one more on the right, do one more on the right. If you need to do 2 on the left, do 2 on the left.
Okay, cool.
Normally something like that, I'd recommend a 30-second hold.
Okay.
2 or 3 times on each side.
All right.
Something like that.
Okay.
Now, pat yourself on your back. You've earned it. And then in that position, same idea, but a little different muscle. This is that levator muscle. So you're going to take that and pull it to the side till you start to feel a pull. And once you get that pull, then we want to go slightly downward towards the armpit. Should feel kind of maybe a little deeper underneath there.
Yep.
With this one, if you just kind of look to the side and pull and combine it, I find a lot of people miss it. I like to do that 2-part, to the side first, then slowly look down. For me, I feel like I get a lot more bang for my buck out of it.
Because you're going to isolate the muscle that way versus missing, somewhere in between. Okay.
And same thing, a couple sets of 30-second holds, both sides on that one. This can be actually really good if you have a lot of shoulder pain too. Levator is pretty indicative in a lot of different things in that regard. And those are super easy things that you can do pretty much anywhere with that. You brought said thing.
Yes.
Want to show them what you would do with that?
Sure. So for me, thinking about all the different things that we could do, one of the main things that I like to do with it relates to neck and shoulder pain is actually foam rolling lats.
Okay.
I don't know how you feel about that. It's kind of a little hard for me to show on the floor, but what you would probably want to do.
You can try it on the table if you want to.
We can try it on the table. So this is actually a mini travel foam roller. I actually got it from a supply company, but they do have it on Amazon as well. And this fits really well into your suitcase, so you don't have to take a long foam roller when you travel. And it's in our branded colors with orange. So what I want to do is show you the lat real quick. So the lat, you're going to be on the side, and you're going to put your foam roller on the side. Okay. And you're going to be stacked on your side and your arm extended out. And then I just like to do little rolls back and forth on kind of the belly of the muscle. And in all fairness, the lat is probably one of the most sensitive muscles to foam roll. So give yourself grace. If you can do it every other day, it's going to be fantastic. All you have to do are little tiny rolls, like maybe 1 or 2 inches, just to get a little bit of that fascia moving and to treat some of those trigger points. I usually recommend that my clients do 3 different positions. So this is going to be your neutral position that gets the belly of the muscle. And then you can kind of position the roller more towards your shoulder blade. And then what you're going to do is you're going to roll forward, but not in the armpit. You want to be very careful to not be in the armpit. What you're looking for is that tendon attachment on the backside of the shoulder joint. And if you roll forward, you can get that. That is probably the most sensitive area, but it's the most bang for your buck. Okay. And then the last part is the flat version, because the lat actually goes all the way to the lumbar spine. It's our lumbar stabilizer that connects the shoulder. So if you rotate back a few degrees, then you can kind of do some rolls on the flatter portion of that. I don't recommend doing a lot of foam rolling on the lat, just a little bit, just enough to give you some movement. I should have done it before and an after, but just that little bit of work, and now I've got more movement in my shoulder, and I have more movement. More movement in your shoulder means there's less loading on your neck and into your head.
Yeah.
So.
If you have a foam roll at home, you don't need the mini one. You could use any version of that. If it's too aggressive, we recommend maybe just folding a towel up over the top so you get a little cushion.
Oh yeah.
Or you could drape your yoga mat if you got one over the top. Or you could use like a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball. Lacrosse ball is going to be pretty aggressive. It's probably the most point tender, so proceed with caution there.
That might be a progression.
Yeah.
You know, start with a regular foam roller and then work your way
kind of
up.
working your way up through there. And well, Amazon's, I'm pretty sure, stock full of you know, at least the foam rolls.
And then I want to say something else about so for me personally, I'm not, especially on the lat, I usually either do a smooth roller or one that has just a little bit of gritting. I'm in the lat, I don't like to do what they call the rumble rollers, or the ones that have the pegs or the texturing on them. Remember that our ribs are movable. And they're meant to move for breathing, which is going to be our next thing that we talk about. But our ribs are meant to move, right? And so we don't really want to be putting a lot of knobby pressure on those ribs. That would just be my one word of precaution.
Yeah, I think if with anything, the tool doesn't necessarily, it's that direct pressure, kind of sustained direct pressure, slight oscillations that you're going to get the best bang for your buck with. You don't need, what tool you use is up to you, but if it's too aggressive, if you're bracing yourself or having to hold your breath against it, you are missing the point.
Yeah. So
you want to be able to ease into it, and the first it might be a little intense, but you should be able to adapt to that. If you're not adapting, we need to change the object of choice.
Yeah, cool. Okay, and then the last thing that I kind of want to talk about, at least from my perspective, we'll see if there's anything else you want to share, is breathing. Okay, when we are in times of stress, whether it is an environmental situation that we're all in right now, or a deadline at work, or frustration at home with family members, whatnot, we tend to what they call ataxic breathe. So we tend to be breathing, in layman's terms, breathing with our neck and not with our diaphragm and our abdomen, the way that our bodies were designed to breathe. So that really plays, if people are stress breathing here, that obviously plays a part in pain for the neck and for headaches and shoulder tension. What are some ways that people can learn to breathe efficiently and decrease the load on the neck?
So it does take a little bit of mindfulness. I think this is something that you kind of stop and you have to think about, which is weird when you think about breathing, but it's hard to repattern breathing if you just think it's going to naturally happen. It's not like a muscle you can just stretch out. You do have to be a little more mindful about it. And there's a couple different techniques I like to use. One is just kind of facilitating some belly breathing in general, diaphragmatic breathing, and then using that pattern to build into paced breathing, and what I will call boxed breathing. Okay. There's lots of different names for it. You might have heard like 4-7-8 breathing, something like that. And then doing different long pauses, which we'll get into here in a second. But then also looking at kind of some forced exhalation breaths as a means to not only facilitate better diaphragm activation, but stress reduction as well.
Okay.
All
right.
So let's get you laying on your back. And so at home, hopefully you have a pillowcase or a towel or something like that. And if we could have you kind of wrap this like a belt around your diaphragm.
Okay, sure.
Get this guy going here.
All right. Does it like this way?
I would say for that purpose, where we got there. And so in this position, I like to have at least the knees bent. If you can have some sort of bolster, a chair, pop your feet up on the couch, totally legal. Anything, because that's going to neutralize the spine. And it's going to make it a little easier to tap into your diaphragm. This here gives you some cueing and a target to breathe into. And for diaphragmatic breathing, I recommend going in through your nose, out through your nose if you can. If you breathe in through your nose, it naturally facilitates more diaphragm activation. If you breathe in through your mouth, it's more chest in that upper breathing pattern. So if we can kind of facilitate, slow down, and use the nose, we might tap into it a little bit better. And so what I'm going to ask Rachel to do is take one hand and just kind of rest it on your upper chest. In that hand, we should not see rise or fall. We want to deliberately do a more shallow breath than we normally do. So we're only getting it here. We're not getting it in the chest. And so Rachel, when you're ready, kind of deeply in through your nose, kind of slow and paced. If you feel all this around you, I want you to breathe into that pillowcase. And you're not trying to qualify for speed and time. Use the pace that feels right for you right now. And what a lot of people will do initially is they start breathing here, which is great, but they don't breathe here on either side. So what we want to think of is that the diaphragm wraps all the way around. So when you're breathing, breathe into here, but also try and expand the sides out at the same time. And that's difficult stuff. That's hard to do. And you might find you're able to do one or the other, but not both. And something's better than nothing, but working into trying to do it at the same time is where we really want to start living. How difficult is that for you, Rachel?
It's not difficult, but I have to really think about, I start here and I have to remember not to have this engage and kick in. That's the challenge for me in this exercise.
If you watch, if Rachel breathes in quick, that almost automatically kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
And so it has to be kind of a slow breath, and this is where you're focused. So doing it laying down, you could eventually get to sitting or standing with it, but laying down is going to give you the best bang for your buck and easiest to do, at least initially. So now that we've got that pattern down, we still want to keep in through the nose, out through the nose. You don't necessarily need to have the hand unless you like to do it.
Okay.
But what we're going to do is a paced breathing, a boxed breathing exercise. And what we're going to do is we're going to inhale for 4 seconds, pause for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and pause for 4 seconds. Okay? And so again, at your own pace.
And that's the box you're talking
Exactly.
about.
Okay. And this is not a forced breath. It's not the most air you can get in. It's not the most air you can get out. It's just for 4-second breathing.
And I'm still breathing through my nose the same way that
in
I would
through your
with...
nose, out through your nose. Yep.
Okay.
And we're trying to focus again on where that wrap is. And you don't necessarily need this once you get it down. It's just a nice to have.
Okay. All right.
And when you're ready, so we go
Okay.
1,
Yep.
2, 3, 4, and then you're pausing. 3, 2, 1, out. 4, 3, 2, 1, and then pause. 3, 2, 1. Inhale again for 4. Pause. Out. Pause. And what's nice about this, you can breathe normal, just don't stop doing it at all. What's nice about this is that by pacing this, you're automatically slowing your breathing down. When we're in that chest kind of stressed breathing, we breathe probably double the amount we do in very small amounts. And so this forces the body to pace the breathing, which is naturally going to tap into what we call our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and relax side. And then it's going to help decrease muscle tension. It's going to help normalize blood acidity. So sometimes when we hyperventilate, we actually end up with a state of respiratory alkalosis, which is basic blood, which can lead to nervousness, fidgeting, lots of different things, heightened response sensitivity, things like that. So pacing that allows you, if we're looking at 16 seconds, roughly you're getting 3.5 breaths a minute rather than 10 to 20. And that can have significant benefits for the nervous system.
We like that.
Yes. Building on that, so same kind of thought. We're going to breathe, pause, breathe, exhale, pause.
Okay.
But now we're going to change the length of the pauses. And you
Okay.
can pause longer on the inhale,
Okay.
or you can pause longer on the exhale. And we're going to
Okay.
do one of each. We're going to pause
Okay.
long on the inhale. So same idea, in through your nose, out through your nose. But let's inhale for 4 seconds. And then I want you to pause for 8. And then exhale for 4. And pause for 4. Now inhale for 4 again. Pause for 4 this time. Exhale for 4. Pause for 8. And then breathe in again, just normal through there. That exhale pause can sometimes be very tough. Did you find yourself struggling?
Yeah.
Your heart rate will kind of
I
get
was like,
that.
oh gosh.
Yeah. It's the first couple exhale long pauses might pick up a little bit of anxiety. So you might go 6 seconds versus 8 seconds. But
Okay.
you can build on that. The inhale pause usually isn't too bad.
Okay.
But the exhale pause, your body starts to go in. But what I don't know if you noticed when you took that breath in, kicks the diaphragm in almost.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's a good technique to have, but use whatever intervals you think are most appropriate.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
no magic interval. It's whatever you naturally will do and stick with.
Okay. Awesome.
And then the last one is forced exhalation breathing. And for this one, you might have heard of balloon breathing before.
Yes.
You could use a balloon, you can use a straw, you could simply use pursed lips. The goal is to provide a little resistance to the exhale. And this is the biggest breath you can take in and the biggest breath you can push out. Okay? So this one, I'll in through your nose, out through your mouth. Okay? So big breath in. I don't care if we get in the chest, we want diaphragm and chest. So big breath in. Big. And then through pursed lips, blow it all out. And you'll know when you get it out, because as you come down, these ribs are going to start to drop. And you're going to start to feel it quiver in anticipation. There's a little bit. Keep going. There it is. 1, 2, 3. Big breath in through your nose. Good. And then all of it out again. If you want, you can go a little quicker on the exhale. And there it is. 3, 2, 1, and then just breathe in normal.
Woo!
So that one is good because we have something in our body called reciprocal inhibition.
Right.
So when we activate muscles on one side of the body that do one action, it inhibits or turns off, relatively speaking, muscles that do the opposite action. So if I were to bend my arm, my bicep is on, my triceps are off. Same concept here. If we're stuck inhaling more because we're chest breathing, if we can forcibly exhale, we turn those exhalers on a little bit more, we can decrease tension through the neck.
So just an observation after just doing that. When I had my hip surgery, Eric was the PT who rehabbed me after my hip labrum surgery 4 years ago. Still doing great, thank you.
Awesome.
But balloon breathing actually was a crucial part of my recovery because our diaphragm is so close to the psoas and so close to everything with pelvic floor and our pelvic bowl. So he really worked with me on that. And it definitely sped up my recovery and my process and that whole process. But just laying here on the table with that, what I was able to notice immediately was that all of my spinal muscles, especially in kind of that mid-thoracic and lumbar, just relaxed. I had a lot less tension in my lower back after I was done with the balloon breathing or the forced breathing, which is amazing, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's a good low-level core activator. And when we have proper core activation, we get less hip flexor trying to substitute for that. We get less paraspinals trying to substitute for it. So it's a great way to activate it. You can do it pretty much anywhere. Yeah.
In your car. I used to do it in my car all the time. So
definitely.
Definitely. Cool. All right. So any parting words, any last things you want to mention?
Wash your hands out there.
Yeah.
Stay safe out there. If you guys have questions, you certainly can reach out to us. Search Chandler Physical Therapy. I know Rachel's going to be an excellent resource too. It seems like you're pretty well active in that sort of community. I do have a website, breathebetter.co. If you want to learn more, I did write a book on the breathing. If you want to kind of dive deeper in that, you're more than welcome to do that.
Which is really, really good.
Kind of a self-guided course there as well, if there's of interest that way, or if you feel so inclined to hit us up, find us on social media. I'm at Chandler Physical Therapy for pretty much everything. And send us a message. We'll try and troubleshoot as best as we can.
And you guys are open Monday through Friday, right?
Yep. As it stands currently, we are still open and operating. Just spacing our schedule out a little bit more, spacing the tables out a little bit more.
And then you do accept insurance and Medicare, but you also do cash pay sessions too, right?
Correct. Yes.
And then how about dry needling? You also do dry needling?
We do. Yes, we do dry needling. We have either half hour or full hour session.
Okay.
In any of those sessions, you can get dry needling in. We used to just call it a specific dry needling session, but some people wanted, some tissue work, stuff like that. It's kind of a you call it in terms of that situation.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Awesome. So we actually, if we have clients that have stubborn trigger points that are not responding well to more conservative measures with neuromuscular therapy, dry needling is one of the routes that we will recommend. We recommend that they see Eric and his team over here for some dry needling just to kind of get a little bit more assertive in those so that we can make a little bit more progress. So we do work well hand in hand together, and thank you for being an awesome resource.
Thank you as well.
Yeah, and it is, today we are shooting on Friday, and it is Bow Tie Friday.
Bow Tie Friday.
Chandler PT.
Still
for
exists.
7 years, it's been Bow Tie Friday, and
Awesome.
Super awesome. So anyway, thank you for watching today. We hope this has been a really great experience for you. Over the next week or two, I'm going to be doing a few more interviews with area experts, just to give you more knowledge. We're all home. We're all in this together. We want to make sure that we're still able to help you during this stressful time, and this is one way that we can help you. We have all this information in our brain that we like to give to people when it's needed most, and so that's kind of what I'm doing with these interviews. So thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Have an awesome day and
You
an
too.
awesome weekend.
Make good choices out there.
Absolutely, right? Okay, bye-bye.